It means a lot.
This meeting is being recorded.
Just the alert there.
Sorry, that was very loud.
No, we're just very happy that you're able to meet with us and that you're very interested in returning back to St. John's. Let me tell you, when I started here, it was mid-pandemic, no volunteers, no nothing. You know, it's been a hard 2 years, let me tell you. And so I am just happy that we still have interest in the community and serving our patients. And so Rich, Sandy, Nancy, thank you so much, and all others who are going to join as well. And so I'm just going to start off with let's just go maybe real quick around the meeting here, and just tell me something about yourself that I don't know, and then how your experience been in the past volunteering here at St. John's. Can we start with Rich here by any chance?
Sure. I spent over 40 years in business, most of it in marketing, and, advertising, and I ended up having some healthcare experience working for healthcare providers, as well as insurance companies. So I kind of know it from both sides in that regard. Yeah. And a lot of experience managing people. And what made me, I think, relevant to the patients is I've had surgery on both knees, orthopedic surgery. So I can identify with the people.
Oh, you have all sorts of experience. I love that. Well, thanks, Riz. Appreciate that. Can we go with Sandy next?
I've been in the medical field my whole career. I was an ophthalmic tech for a number of years, and then I was a pharmaceutical rep for 25 years and called on St. John's as one of my hospitals.
Wow.
I've been volunteering at St. John's for, it's been almost 10 years. And I like doing this particular position because it keeps me moving and, being an advocate for the patients and kind of helping them in anything they need or relaying to the nurses or sometimes to the doctors. I'm on med surge, so sometimes that can be difficult because the patients aren't feeling well. But I also volunteer at Santa Monica UCLA one day a week as well.
Okay. All right. All over the place. I love that. Miss Nancy.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm here now.
Awesome. Yes, we can see you.
We can see you.
Hooray. I don't know. I've got all kinds of crazy things on here. Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. No, we don't want any of that stuff. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm here. Yes. I'm from Cleveland, Shaker Heights, Ohio. Was my last place of business. I worked for a residential treatment center for emotionally disturbed children. And at one point I did take in foster children. I've got a lot of compassion and caring for people who have problems, whether they be physical or psychological. My great experience is working in the oncology department. A lot of people say to me, how can you do it? And I say, well, how can't I do it? I come in with a big smile. I tell, the patients will say to me, well, aren't you in a hurry? Don't you have to go and see the other patients? I said, I can see one patient or I can see all the patients. I am here for however long you need me. And we talk about baseball, football, LeBron James, the Cleveland Guardians now, the Cavaliers, talk a myriad of subjects, grandchildren, dogs. I find that when I go to work at the hospital, and it's been a while now, I'm dragging and I say, oh God, I wish I could stay in bed, or, oh God, I wish I didn't have to go in today. But once I get there, I am so energized that it's wonderful. It's very good for me to be able to participate in this program.
I love it. No, I appreciate every one of you sharing something with me so I can get to know you a little better. I know you guys are all amazing because it takes a special type of person to do this task. And so I know Brenda was very, very selective We have, you know, dozens of volunteers that we can pick from, but there's a reason you're all here in this meeting here today is what I'm trying to say. And that special reason obviously shines out. I can see it from a mile away. And so thank you again. And so with that being said, today I want to take the opportunity to kind of just share a little bit of my world and what patient experience is and how volunteers tie into all this. So if everyone's okay, I'm going to share my screen. It should pop up. If it doesn't, just let me know. And then I can.
Ivan,
Yes.
Got it.
Pam just sent me an email that she is trying to get in, so I sent her the link again. So just if you just keep an eye out for her in the waiting room.
Yeah, I will pay attention to that. Thank you. Great. So hopefully everybody can see my screen there. And so usually at St. John's, some of you may be familiar with this. We usually kick off every meeting with the reflection, right? And so this is from a recent image taken from the James Webb Space Telescope. Some of you may have seen this in the news or newspaper. But I'm going to read a quick quote that was attached to this by Brother Cosamagano. The science behind this telescope is our attempt to use our God-given intelligence to understand the logic of the universe. This is God's creation being revealed to us, and it will continue to see both his astonishing power and his love of beauty. I think it's a beautiful quote here. And, you know, when I saw this for the first time, this was like 2 weeks ago, it just made me think of everything beautiful that God has given us, even just images like this, right? And it shows us how much bigger things are than ourselves. And it's kind of like that calling to volunteerism. It's much bigger than an individual, right? And it impacts so many lives. And I'm sure, and I've heard it many times around when I meet with some of our patients, they miss our volunteers. They remember some of you. We had repeated customers here all along, and so they do miss your faces, and they do know that each and every one of you brings in that special something, right? That us as caregivers, as employees, can't always provide, unfortunately, right? But that's just the reflection kicking us off. Brenda did a great job introducing me. I'm not going to waste time going through this. Thank God I didn't wear the same suit today. You're going to think I didn't change, but these are just some of the areas that I touch upon. The hospital, anything that pretty much touches the patient in a non-clinical way, you know, volunteers, interpreter services, our operators, things like that, right? And so I mentioned a key phrase here, the patient experience. So this is, I like to call it the recent sexy topic in healthcare, patient experience, even though it's been about close to 15, 20 years now. This is something that all hospitals have to be aware of. And so St. John's is no exception. And so the patient experience is now part of the major functions of healthcare. It is important because it's everything our patients in any healthcare environment, what they see, what they think, what they feel, what they perceive. And this is including the family members as well, right? And even like us here, we're doing this virtually. We have virtual meetings with patients at times. And so every interaction with patient, whether it's while they're here, while they're in emergency, whether they're at home, it doesn't matter. It's the sum of all interactions. And that's what we consider the patient experience, right? And it never ends. It's cyclical because folks, you know, sometimes sometimes return to better health, bring their loved ones, whatever it is, to this facility, right? But the idea is that we provide an exceptional patient experience to everybody and anyone who walks through these doors. And so here's just the image depicting kind of what I just explained. And, you know, when patients come to us, they know we're going to help them, but there's other expectations from them, right? And you know, and I'll get a little bit into the survey process. So every patient that gets discharged receives a survey in the mail about a week and a half after they leave. Some of you, if you've been patients, you may have received one in the past. And so the government takes these scores, and what they do is they start comparing each facility to each other to see how we can work on improvement, right? Based on the patient voice, based on the patient insight. And so based on that data for the last 15 or so 20 years, you know, there's three things that patients want from us when they come to our facility. They want to feel safe. They want to know that they're receiving high quality, and they want us to be patient-centered, basically treat people like people, which I think you guys are the experts at this, by the way. And then just the bottom here, like I mentioned, is every encounter, every piece of information that comes to us goes to the home, whatever that is, right? That patient experience needs to be, once again, exceptional, right? And so the next big question is, well, why is the patient experience so important, right? It affects one, how we get paid for the services we provide to the community. If we can't keep the lights on, we can't help future sick patients, right? And we can't fulfill our mission that way. It also builds loyalty amongst the community. It lets them know that, you know, they're not just about treating you and getting you out of here, right? It's more of a, they truly care for you, right? They are interested in healing the community as much as possible. It also attracts and influences philanthropy, which is very important to keep the lights on as well, right? But at the end of the day, folks, it's the right thing to do for patients and their families, because if any one of us was in that bed, and some of us have, we would expect the best service and quality, right? And so it's nothing different for any stranger, for the poor and vulnerable. It's kind of our way of doing things here in the community, right? And so I know I'm throwing a lot at you folks, and a lot of this you probably already heard. I just want, it never hurts to kind of hear this information again. And so I just want people to take away from here that the patient experience is now something tangible, right? Something measurable that impacts not just the finances, but also it affects the way patients make decisions, right? They have a choice. They don't have to come to us. They really don't. We have many hospitals around here. We have many clinics. We have different providers. And so it's their choice. And so how we differentiate ourselves is by providing the best service possible and the best quality. And we do that through our volunteers here. Just a little bit about the survey process, just because some folks are usually always curious of how it works. So anybody that gets discharged home, about 2 weeks later, a week and a half later, they receive a mail survey. Once they complete that mail survey, it goes to a third-party vendor, which kind of uploads all our results via computer, virtually. And so the hospital uses that information to try to improve things for our patients, for future patients and visits and things like that. And we also get comments from patients. And so we use that insight to kind of better ourselves every single day, right? Nobody's perfect. No process is perfect. So we use that information to try to improve ourselves in our processes. Does anybody have any questions on the survey process? I know I'm throwing a lot at you folks.
So are they, because this thing says mail, email, text, but is it mostly in the mail that they're getting it? Because way back when we were doing it before, sometimes it was mail and then it would change to calling on the phone, and then changing.
So throughout the years here, there's been different methods. As inpatients, you are most likely to get a paper survey.
Okay.
You may receive an electronic one, but because the government requires paper survey for whatever crazy reason, we abide by that. But now if you go to our emergency department, it's electronic. If you go to one of our clinics, it's electronic. So I think slowly but surely we'll eventually get into the electronic world as inpatient, if that makes a great question. Somebody else had another question?
No.
Okay. And so the foundation for creating an exceptional patient experience is, one, awareness, just knowing the scores. And so I've met with Brenda in the past and kind of just talked to her about how we as a volunteer services can impact some of these scores, right? And we have to know the scores to know how we can improve. And so awareness is 50% of the moving of the needle in the right direction. And like I said, the data, the information, the insight that we get from patients is just kind of digging deep into that at times. And that's mainly my world there, where I will, take this information and interpret it in a way where we can come up with actionable items, right? What leads to improvement work. And at the end of the day, the most important fundamental element here is it's our mission, it's our promise, right? The know me, care for me, and ease my way, along with our values of compassion, dignity, justice, excellence, and integrity. And so when we combine these things, we build a recipe for not just the hospital, the ministry itself, but for our patients and our community, right? When you go into the deeper granular level, and don't feel like you got to read every little line here. These are actions and tasks that some of you have been doing here in the past as well, but focus on the pyramid, right? The pyramid here, the whole point of our services, volunteer services, is to provide excellence, whether it's to our patients, who are AKA our customers, or internal customers, which is other caregivers around us, and helping their department operations and task completion through our help, through each and every one of you, right? So the goal here is just to be present, we've been gone, and when I say we, I just mean volunteer services in general. We've been out of the picture for the last 2 years or so, and so I think it's a perfect time to kind of revamp ourselves, refresh ourselves. Kind of how Nancy was saying, right? When you come back to work and then you get energized all of a sudden, that's kind of the whole point of this today's meeting here, and the program and the task that each and every one of you will be participating in. But the idea is that although there isn't specific questions in these surveys dedicated to volunteers, we can impact those scores because at the end of the survey, the patients are asked a question about, on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate the care at St. John's, right? And it's very subjective. It may not have nothing to do with their care. I've seen surveys where the patient gave us a 10 because they had such a great interaction with an EVS member, right? Who really had nothing to do with their medical task or test or anything like that, right? So it just goes to show you what that warm heart can do to some of these patients. And so any questions on this here?
No.
I'm just going to show you that there is so much data in these surveys, right? There's so many questions. There's 30 plus questions, but my job is to kind of bring out a narrow focus and identify where we can impact, right? From a volunteer services standpoint. This is just a snapshot of the last 12 months when patients are asked if it's a question around responsiveness, right? And patients are being asked if we're or if we're getting to them in a timely manner when they need something, whether it's when they hit the call light or in general. And so the pattern you see here is for the last 12 months. That number, the number right now doesn't matter, but what I want folks to understand is that this blue line is our performance, right? As you can see here, there's a lot of variation here, a lot of variation. And so this tells us that when it comes to responsiveness throughout the ministry, we're not very consistent at it, right? As you can see here, this last month, we took a big dip from where we were at the prior month. And so this is just patients being very honest with us, sharing their insight. I'll tell you this, patients in this community, they love us. They'll give us the 10, they'll recommend us, but they will let us know where we need improvement. And this is what I love, that our community is so willing to share their insight with us. Whether it's good or bad, it gives us the opportunity to improve. And so when we look at this here, I would like for us, this is definitely not this does not land on the volunteers per se, right? This is more of a nursing question. But like I said, I think we can influence and impact this score as well, just by our simple presence in the floors, right? Checking in with patients, just what's that quick thing you need? Sometimes when I do my rounding, I would say that, and maybe some of you know this, more than half the time, it's nothing clinical. It's, can you adjust my bed? Can you turn on my TV? Can you get my phone charger? And those are the things that we can tackle right away, and we'd be more than happy to tackle, right? And so this is just kind of me showing you a little bit of the data. We don't need to get lost in the numbers. It's more the pattern. But my goal is to raise this up as much as possible over the next 6 months. And only because, if you can imagine your loved one, yourself on that bed, right? When we hit that call light, we need something, and we need that caring love, that caring touch to kind of be there as soon as possible. Unfortunately, our volumes have been increasing in a lot of the units, and so the lack of nurses, the lack of nurse assistants, it definitely shows, and it makes it difficult to get to every call light or even get there before the call light, right? And so I think a lot of that has to do with some of these scores here, these recent months. But yeah, and like I said, there's many different categories in the survey that gives us a lot of insight. And so we can always focus on anything that we feel is dropping or that we see a lot of comments on, maybe negative comments on. And us as volunteers, we can definitely impact some of this stuff here.
How many patients is each nurse assigned?
So by law, they're only able, inpatient, they're only allowed to have 4 patients. The problem is that when they get tangled up with some type of test or procedure in the room, there's 3 other patients that don't have a nurse with them, and CNAs get assigned about 8 to 12 patients at times, I believe. So you can just imagine if one of the CNAs is assisting somebody with restroom help, it leaves a lot of vulnerable patients out there waiting. So yeah, it's definitely a numbers game at times.
Does that really affect your graph here?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. And so the name of the game is to one, communicate and be proactive, right? So if volunteer services can get ahead of a lot of these call bells, if we're doing our rounds, checking in with patients, if we get to them before they hit the call light, it's actually a benefit for the nurses, for the CNAs, and some of the docs, right? And so we can do that because we know what these needs are most of the time. It's, can you bring my tray closer? Can I get some ice chips? Can you adjust my bed? Can you turn on the TV? Can you bring my bag closer? It's things like that. So can you imagine if folks are all hitting the lights for that, and there could be a patient that could really need some medical assistance and is hitting the call light, but we're busy doing these non-clinical tasks, right? So I think that's where we can have a great impact as we round throughout the ministry. And it kind of goes
So,
back.
I'm gonna let you into the office very shortly.
I think Pam's in the waiting room.
All right, I'll stay on until they can
Exactly.
get you connected.
Let me see if I can let her in real quick. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna stop presenter mode. This way I can see the screen. I'm gonna go to participants. Okay. I don't see anybody in the waiting room, Brenda.
She's not.
Brenda, how many volunteers are there in concierge? Is it just 4 of us?
No,
Or-
there are a couple more who aren't ready to come back yet. There's at least 1, 2, at least 2 more.
2 more. How many did we have 3 years ago?
It was all of you, about 7. Yeah, that was about it, 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm forgetting somebody, but I know that Peter and Anne, but I think there was 1 more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brenda. There's nobody in the waiting room at the moment.
Okay, go ahead and Karen's on the phone with her. We thought she got her in, but go ahead and continue.
Okay. Yeah, we're almost done here, and if need be, I can have a session with her at a later time as well. So this is kind of where I left folks off in terms of you just see she popped in again. Yeah, see there's nobody here. Yeah, it's just us here. This is kind of the structure that I've been pushing towards our nurses and CNAs to kind of assist with this problem where I'm having their supervisor for each unit kind of gather and deploy folks every hour on the hour. And so for even hours as the CNAs, odd hours as the nurses. But as I just mentioned, it's difficult to gather folks when they're busy, treating patients. And so it makes it difficult, right? We want to set the expectation that we can visit patients on a regular basis, whether it's every hour, every 2 hours, but we want them to have that comfort of knowing that, okay, I may not hit the call light right now, but I know someone's going to come check on me within an hour, right? Or just pass by again and see if I'm okay. That's kind of the structure I want to implement with our clinical folks here. But like I said, there are some difficulties. They are running around like crazy, and it just, unfortunately, these last couple of weeks, our call light systems have been going down and not functioning properly throughout the ministry. So that doesn't help the situation either. And I just kind of want to share this quick process here. I'm sure you guys are experts in this. This is just kind of going around the rooms. This is something that I try to implement just with anyone. It doesn't have to be a nurse. It can be myself. It can be other administrators where, for specific days, we just kind of go around and sneak your head into the room. And this is my favorite line here because it's very quick and straight to the point. I say, hello, my name is Ivan, just checking to see if there's anything you need at this moment. And most of the time it's a quick yes or no, thank you. But the fact that we checked in on our patients can definitely impact their perception when it comes to our survey scores and things like that, right? we may not be able to manage wait time. We may not be able to eliminate wait times, but we can manage them, right? And patient experience is all about perception, right? They know we're busy. They know the nurses are outnumbered as well as their CNAs. But if they see the intent of the hospital trying, right, to meet their needs, be there for them on a regular basis, we will be rewarded for it. They will give us the best scores. And with folks like yourselves there, you know, with that warm heart and that soft touch, I mean, even better, right? Even better. But these are just kind of some ideas that I've been tossing around here for a couple months now. But any questions or comments up to this point?
So my experience back when we were doing this several years ago was that the patients just appreciated somebody coming in to see how they were doing. And some of the patients, especially some of the older patients, they really just wanted somebody to talk to. And the nurses don't have time to stand there and talk, you know, just talk.
Correct.
And I think that that was greatly appreciated by the patients.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, that does help the healing process, believe it or not. Unfortunately, the clinical folks, the nurses and doctors don't have that capability. But I think with our services, I think that's the value we bring to the hospital, right? That's the value we bring at the bedside. It's a great point there. So this is my last slide here, right? And then we can open it up to some more Q&A. Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, and listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. So just back to your point there, Rich, right? Very powerful. I think what we do doesn't require a license. And even if you have 10 licenses, doesn't mean you know that you can do what our volunteers can do here. And so, like I said, each and every one of you is a very special individual, and there's a reason Grenda has kept you along this whole time, even through the pandemic. And her and I were praying that you guys would come back, and here you are, and we're probably a week or so away from having you here, and our patients as well, right? So I really appreciate that. That's the end of my presentation. We can just, you know, chit chat a little more, or if there's other specifics that the team would like to hear or know about. Yes, Nancy?
COVID is increasing a bit, and I'm wondering if that's going to interrupt our volunteering again. That's a concern. I figure going back for a week or two, and oh boy, COVID has exploded.
Yeah, no, that's a valid concern. But if we compare ourselves where we are today from where we were 2 years ago, we knew nothing 2 years ago, and we weren't prepared. No facility was prepared at this point. I dare to say over 95% of our staff has been vaccinated, as well as you guys, I believe. We are screening folks at the door. We're screening family members. We're limiting people coming in. And if even our vendors, if they don't have the specific vaccinations, we are not allowing them full access at the moment. So that will definitely help out with a lot. And then also, you know, we are definitely covering up in every department, whether it's COVID or not. People have their mask on, so it's a mandatory mask. And so I think that's not just to keep yourself safe, but everybody else safe. So we have so many, how do I say, safety barriers compared to 2 years ago that we should be fine. I myself have returned to work. Brenda has returned to work. We pretty much live here throughout the week, and so definitely a lot safer than before.
Do we have to wear gowns or just the mask?
For now, it's just the mask, but I would also recommend that if the department requires you to put on a face mask, just do so, just so we can follow policy along with them. It's more for the nursing, but if we're going to be around these areas, we just want to be compliant with everybody.
He said face mask, but I think he meant face shield. So
yes.
yeah, so if you're going into a patient room, everybody has a mask period. Patients do not wear masks, and they're not required to. Our patients are tested for COVID when they're admitted. So if the patient has COVID, just like before, you don't go into any isolation rooms to visit. Otherwise, you have your mask on. You are welcome to put on a face shield. I would actually recommend it. It's just an extra layer of protection. They're wearing them in the ER as well. But yeah, it's you're vaccinated, you're boosted, you're masked, and everybody is screened. So we do feel that it's safe to bring you back. And knock on wood, we hope we won't have to suspend the program again. Yeah.
No, and then a lot of the community has also been vaccinated, not just internally, but surrounding our area. So some of our patients that come to us, they're already vaccinated. They're already protected.
Are the COVID patients in one area, or are they spread around all the floors?
I believe right now they're stationed in a specific area, unless they're in the ICU, which is a different level of care, obviously. But for the most part, they're contained to a certain area of the hospital. If we run low on beds, then it does kind of have to go into other units. But at the time, as of this morning, I heard that we're not overflowing with COVID patients. We're actually at a minimal, I believe, or maybe zero. So we're in a good standing right now.
But Sandy, they are on med surge. So med surge and ICU is where most of the COVID patients are housed, and the rooms are clearly marked. The rooms are clearly marked.
Yeah. Oh, that, yeah. At UCLA, they let me know which ones are the COVID patients, and there's precaution on the door. But you were saying something about possibly the name, and if you were changing it, because I have like 45 rooms I have to go into, and I have said this to you before, Brenda, that saying patient care concierge is really difficult and hard to get out, and to say it in 45 times, it's just, so you had mentioned something about that. So are you changing the name? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I don't know how we landed on the patient care concierge. It was never really what I wanted. I don't think it's a great descriptor of the role. I mean, you could even, Sandy, hi, my name is Sandy. I'm a volunteer. I'm here to make sure that we're providing you with, like, you don't even have to give them a title. You could just tell them you're a volunteer. But Ivan and I have been kind of spitballing a little to try to come up with something that is maybe a little more representative and hopefully less of a tongue teaser.
Is that like patient liaison? I mean, that kind of implies you're sort of an advocate, sort of a kind of in between like the nurses, the CNAs, and I mean, that's just a thought. They used to call them that at UCLA, but I don't think they have those kinds of volunteers anymore.
Yeah, the term concierge is just not understood by most people.
Yeah.
Because when you say that, when you say that, they go, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I told them, I said, I can't get you tickets to the table. I can't get you tickets to the baseball game. I'm not that kind of concierge.
Yep. Me too. Me too. That's what I said. And they all laugh. And or they'll say, can you get me a lottery ticket, or can you get me?
I'm not that kind of concierge.
No, this is definitely great insight. So I'll tell you folks, what me and Granda will go to the drawing board. We'll come back with a couple options, and then we'll get your insight on those two as well, and then we can go from there. But yeah, I agree with every one of you. It gets tiring and it's very confusing at times. So we'll definitely find something that's a little bit of a better fit. Something that rolls off the tongue very smooth, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have any fun then. We can't make any fun jokes.
Is the uniform going to be the same?
It sure will.
Okay.
And what about parking? Is in that building now, it's automated. So I'm guessing that this, we used to get the stamp to put on the back. It's not going to work anymore.
There is still a sticker. So the process changed a little bit, but I'll show you on your first day back. You still get the sticker from security. The stickers look different. You'll put them in a specific spot on your ticket, and then yes, it's automated. You just stick it into the machine, and there's no cost to you for that.
Okay. Also, this is kind of a weird question, but I always came in through the ER that way instead of going all the way around the front. Is it still possible to do that? Because I know patient, you have to come in the front way and all that.
Yeah, unfortunately, even for employees, it's the ER is just for people seeking help in the ER at this time. Yeah, so you will maybe park on the other side of the parking garage so you can come through the front.
It's just another safety precaution as well, right? We get it. It's a lot more convenient, but just another safety barrier to keeping us safe, right?
Yeah. And so what about masks? I know when you come in as a patient, they give you a mask.
My mask is hospital issued. As soon as you walk in, you can get one from the screener.
Okay, so we'll get one. Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely stations at the front of the hospital that you'll notice when you come in. There's a table. There's we're calling them screeners. There's usually 2 individuals, and this is before you get to security. They'll ask you. Well, I don't think they'll have to ask you folks anything because you'll have the badge. But yeah, we're doing that to kind of prevent folks from just walking in randomly without the vaccines and things like that. So you'll notice them. They'll check you right in, and by that I mean they'll hand you a mask. Every single day you get a fresh one. If you need a new one, you just walk back up to them. They give you a fresh one. I want you folks to feel comfortable as well. And if not, at every single department there should be masks available for you, as many as you need.
Are we allowed to wear our own mask, or will they ask us to remove that and put on your mask?
Unfortunately, it has to be a blue mask, and this is just because
Okay.
our
Okay.
CMS guidelines right there.
Okay.
It's kind of what the health department is expecting from us.
And then what about the log? Is it the same? And is it in the same place? And well, for me, it was right as I walked to Med-Surg, it was right at that desk. Is it still in there with some clipboards and stuff?
It is. I will go double check the supply, make sure there's enough copies, but I don't think there's any need to change the form at this time. Ivan and I were having some kind of wishful discussions about going electronic at some point, but for now it's going to stay the same. You'll have clipboard, you'll have the forms for your specific department. You'll fill it in and turn it in to me when you're done rounding.
Okay.
We pick up the forms in your office, don't I? You know, it's been a long time. Where do we get the forms?
In the there's a cabinet in the desk outside my office. Yep.
Gotcha.
And I'll show you when you guys come back for your first shift. Karen or I will meet you out front. We'll make sure you get validated, make sure you get signed in at the kiosk, because the kiosk is the same, but it's been updated. And so it looks a tiny bit different. So I just want to make sure you're comfortable with everything when you get here. We'll make sure you know how to get the forms. I'll take you to the unit. I'll let the staff know that you're back and why you're there. So yeah, I'm not going to just be like, okay, good, go ahead. We'll get you all set up. Make sure if you have any questions that your questions are all answered before you start visiting.
You're going to hold us by the hand.
If you'd like, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Who's the nurse manager on Med-Surg? Is John still there?
Yep, John's still there.
Okay.
What is the length of shift that we are anticipating?
So, I mean, we're still holding to the 1 4-hour shift a week. For your assignment, it's always been however long it takes you to round on your patient. So if you visit everybody in 2 hours, you're done in 2 hours. If it takes you, 4 hours and you don't get to everybody, that's fine too. You take the time you need for your assignment. There's no set time for this rounding assignment.
Okay.
And Ivan, so Rich has been assigned to ortho, and Sandy to Med-Surg, and Nancy to oncology, and Pam, who wasn't able to make it on the call today, is also assigned to orthopedics. So you had mentioned maybe having a greater need on the 3rd floor right now. Did you want to focus on that? I don't know if we need volunteers there every day. Is that overkill? What are your thoughts?
So the only reason I mentioned that, and I would be more than happy to take ideas from anybody on the chat here, is so our survey data shows that the surveys return for the 3rd floor ortho have like tripled this year, which tells me their volume has gotten a lot larger since a couple of years ago. And so if most of our patients that are sending us surveys are roomed in that area, it kind of pushes me to believe that we have to have a little bit more attention there. Not that the other floors can't be rounded up, because some of those folks will be turning in surveys, but the majority of the surveys being submitted are from folks in that area at the moment, right? So I think if we can provide some focus there, even if it was for not every single day, but maybe more often than not, I think we can impact some of those scores as well.
That happened to be the floor where we had the most concierge volunteers assigned. So don't tell them, but I did forget a couple of people. So we had 10 concierge volunteers. Don't tell them, I forgot them. A couple of them were like brand new at the time that we suspended. So that's why Nancy probably remembers them, because I think you trained them for me. But yeah, we should definitely be able to get people up in ortho quickly. I should let you know, Rich, though, that orthopedics is now half of the floor is orthopedics, and the other half of the floor is actually PCCU telemetry overflow. So they're patients that would normally be on the 2nd floor or on the other half of the 3rd floor. So I'm not sure who you're seeing the surveys coming back from, Ivan, if they're like ortho patients or telemetry patients, but it's a mix on that floor now.
Yeah. So when we
No
get
problem.
data, oh, thank you, Rich. When we get data, it doesn't tell me specifically what patient, but it just tells me it came from that area, right?
Because isn't the third floor, I mean, I did it when I first started and then went down to med surg. But it seemed to me that a lot of them were kind of hip and knee replacement, and they're only there a day or two.
Few days.
It's about the average length of stay there. And so the problem with that is that before we can, communicate properly with them, have an interaction with them, they leave our doors. So if something was wrong early on, we could have missed it, right? Just because their length of stay is so short, right? They could have had questions. They could have needed something within that small period of time. And unfortunately, we couldn't get to them. So it makes it a little difficult when the beds are just turning, right?
Yeah.
For somebody who's here 5-7 days, where we have that opportunity to interact with them. And so I know that I receive, and I don't know if Brenda receives this, it's an email every night of potential discharges for the next day. And so maybe that's something that we can utilize as a guide to, like, maybe I should see this individual first because there's more likely they're going to get discharged today. So that could be a possibility to help us get those folks who are here in and out. I mean, we want folks in and out, right? But we don't want to miss that opportunity to assist them with something.
I do not see that report. I would love to see that report.
Brenda, how many volunteers for oncology?
There were two. No, three.
Okay.
There were three. Yeah.
Okay.
But one of them won't be back in town until October, and the other one I haven't heard from through the pandemic. I bumped into him at the gift shop once, but I haven't heard from him, so I'm not sure he's coming back.
Okay. If I survive day one, I could come back another day during the week if needed.
That's amazing. Okay, be careful what you say.
I have a question. One of the big problems that I think negatively affected people's opinions was there was a problem with wheelchairs in ortho, and that there weren't enough when people were ready to go and they were released. Sometimes it took 4 or 5 hours for
Whoa.
released. And all that attention, all that great care that they received those upfront days just went right down the crapper.
Right.
And to sit there and they let you know, I'm telling you. And the people up there did everything they could, but there was this problem of people pirating the wheelchairs from other departments. And it was a real problem. And there was a point where I was asked by the nurse supervisor to, because I had a on and off dialogue with the CEO, to mention it to him.
Yeah.
And I did. And then shortly thereafter, it was like, the wall came down and COVID hit. But
Yeah.
if that hasn't been addressed, you want to affect you got to make sure there's enough wheelchairs.
No,
It's a small capital investment to have a great return. And that alone would make your numbers go up better.
No, I appreciate that. That's very powerful there. And so if you notice that those same patterns still exist, immediately just hit the alert button with me and Grenda. And so
Okay.
we have a very good relationship with leadership here, especially her. And so let's not let this one go unnoticed. But you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because you can receive amazing care, and then somebody in the chain ruins it for the entire organization. I think we have to be on point every single step.
Well, there's an old adage in business, what people remember is your last impression.
Correct.
So you can do wonderful things, and if your last impression is not a good one, that's what they walk away with.
Yes.
And so
Thank you.
that's gotta be fixed. And
No,
get back,
please
I need
keep us
to
honest, Rich. Please keep
yeah.
us honest as much as you can.
Oh, well, I don't generally shy away, as Brenda can tell
No,
you.
he doesn't. He tells it like it is.
I love that. Miss Nancy,
Brenda and Ivan, my dog has a, excuse me, a 3:15 appointment with her vet. Is it okay if I leave now?
Yes,
yes,
Ivan,
please.
I enjoyed meeting you.
Likewise. I
good
will
luck.
see you here, Nancy.
I am looking forward to coming back to, and knowing that Tuesday, when it's Tuesday, it's my day. And, you know, I don't know at this point, after 2 years, I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, Friday. I know it's not Saturday or Sunday, but, you know, this will bring me back in sync with the day, with
There you
time.
go. All of us.
I'll reach
Wonderful
out.
seeing all of you.
Drive safe.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Rich, I appreciate you bringing up the wheelchair issue because I'm not going to lie, something that I have not missed hearing about is wheelchairs for the last 2 years because we haven't had volunteers here to tell me that there weren't any at the entrance, there weren't any on the floors. So it's something that I'm not aware of the current situation. So I'm glad you brought that up. I will actually start taking a look around to see if we have them in the lobby. I don't see them when I'm there. I don't see them in the lobby, so I'm not sure where they're keeping them, but definitely.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there were people actually painting department names or stenciling department names on wheelchairs to keep the from taking them to other departments.
Yeah.
And it was like, what a silly thing for to be happening in a large institution. But you know, a lot of strange things happen in business that are, so to speak, under the table.
Yeah. Just this weekend down by the promenade, I saw a gentleman kind of walking in a wheelchair, and on the back of the wheelchair it said UCLA patient transport.
There you go. You
So
know,
they
I mean,
definitely walk away. Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's the little things, you know, that can
Oh, yeah.
sometimes have a huge impact. Huge impact.
For sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rich.
And how many volunteers are on Med Surge? Is that-
Rounding on
We haven't been able to keep, at least way back then, we weren't able to keep too many. Every time I trained somebody, they were gone. Like,
so would you believe that at the time of the program suspension, we had 4. We had one Tuesday,
Oh.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to get them back. And then I've got a huge list of people who want to join our volunteer program. And this will be an assignment that we'll definitely try to promote high.
because I think it was just before we shut down, I had trained with Bonnie, and I actually ran into her when I was getting my second shot. I ran into her and her husband, but I don't think she actually got to start very much because I think it was shut down right after that.
Yeah, she came just a couple of times, and then she's out of town until October, but she will definitely be back in the fall. She's been in constant contact with me, so she can't wait to get back.
So in ortho, it's Pam and I.
Ortho, for now it will be, yes, you and Pam.
All right.
I don't know if Rose is coming back.
Okay, so in the beginning, because it sounds like help is needed,
Yes.
I'll do 2 days.
Oh, okay.
Thank
I
you.
can do like a Tuesday and Thursday would be the best days for me.
Thank
Okay. And that works around.
Mondays and Fridays are out, and selfishly Wednesday is my golf day, so Tuesday and Thursday would
Okay.
be the best. I think we need if we're going to do this, we need to get it going, and you know, sometimes when things start happening, it creates a nice groundswell among the other people, and they think, wow, they're paying attention to us now. They got these people back to help us.
Yeah.
And so you want to kind of, my experience, when you do things like this, you want to give it a real shot and a little extra effort. And if we get more people, then I'll be happy to back off. But at least I could do Tuesdays and Thursdays in the beginning.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you helping us get things going here.
And Sandy, did you want to go back to Wednesday? Okay. So I'll reach out to you after this meeting. We'll look at your schedules and see when you want to start, and I'll make sure there's forms and clipboards in the cabinet, and we're good to go.
Yeah, I can start next week.
And me too.
Fantastic.
Me
Yay,
too. I can do next week.
so happy. Thank you.
But I will have to tell you this much. I am going to be on vacation from August 8th through the 14th.
Okay.
But I'll be back after that, and but I'll be happy to start, ahead of time, get things going, and then have to take that time off.
Works for me.
Okay,
Fantastic.
Rich, Sandy, what a pleasure to meet you too, and everyone else
Enjoyed
as
it.
well. Thank you,
Nice
thank
to
you,
meet you
thank you. I
too.
appreciate you folks for just logging in
Okay.
today and for being ready to provide service. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir.
Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I will reach out to you later today. We'll get the plan for next week. And
Okay.
again, like Ivan said, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's good to see you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, goodbye.
bye.
Bye, guys.